Welcome to Artscape. I'm your host, Bill Harris, and today we have Rob Grogan. Rob, if you spend a lot of time downtown Fredericksburg like I do, or if you live in downtown Fredericksburg, you're certainly familiar with Rob's work. Rob is the owner, co-owner, and editor of The Front Porch. Right. I think of The Front Porch almost as a family's newspaper. I mean, it's a big family. It's a big, all of Fredericksburg. But it's so important to the people that live in Fredericksburg. How do you describe The Front Porch?
No, that's actually a really, really good description because it brings people from all kind of the spectrum of Fredericksburg life. We hear from them, we see them, they stop us, they write us, they have ideas for stories, for all kinds of things.
But it also, Front Porch covers everything. It has recipes and how to fix your house and gossip, not gossip, but seen and heard.
Sure.
But it covers a wide range of things.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was recently on Bob Hagan's Town Hall radio program, and he dubbed it your guide to the local good life. Yeah. When you think about it, it's all the things that we all enjoy and we don't argue about. It's the arts. We all like that, no matter where you are on the political spectrum or business spectrum. It's wellness, it's history. Certainly that's prevalent in Fredericksburg area. It's recipes, it's restaurants, all kinds of good stuff. And it always reminds me, my favorite story that after this happened, I breathed a sigh of relief and said, I think we're onto something here. We were about a year and a half in, and I was walking down Caroline Street, and I ran into Laura Shepard. Mm-hmm. You know Laura, she's as down to earth as it gets. And she said, hey, I just want to tell you, I really like what you're doing with Front Porch. It makes me smile when I read it.
All right.
So, oh, thanks, Laura. Continued down the street. 2 blocks later, there's Tommy Mitchell.
Right.
Now, everybody who knows Tommy knows he's a developer. He's very business-like. He's not warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Great guy. And he says, hey, Rob, I just want you to know I really like what you're doing. It's all good news. Nothing to cause anybody a heartburn, and it's something we can all agree on.
Right.
And I thought, well, there it is right there, connecting the community.
And to two people from the opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yep.
So let's go back. How did you end up with The Front Porch?
Well, we had moved to Virginia in 1991 for a job my wife got in Alexandria, and we didn't want to live in Alexandria because we were both from small towns. She's from Orchard Park, New York, and I'm from Shrewsbury, New Jersey, which is about as big as this room.
Right.
And so we started scouting on weekends, and we found a place. We found Fredericksburg, and then we found a place that we liked, and moved down. And she was commuting on the VRE. And 5 years in, she said, I'm looking for a change. And I said, yeah, me too. I was dabbling in freelance and wasn't gaining a lot of traction. So we decided we would do what we could do together at home, pooling our talents and past experience. And she was mainly in marketing, and I was mainly in some form of communication. So we said, well, what do we love? We love Fredericksburg. What do we know how to do? We know how to market and write. And so we decided to do this. And simultaneously, we were planning on preparing to adopt our daughter. And we wanted to be stay-at-home parents for that as well. So it all clicked together.
So then was there a model for this? Had you seen papers like The Front Porch in other towns?
Well, like most people, when you travel, you pick up the local stuff and the fun stuff. And we didn't see anything exactly like this. And we met with some friends. We had a picnic at somebody's house, and we're all talking around. And somebody came up with the name Front Porch. And if my recall is right, I think it was Mike Costa, who's a doctor in town. Local guy, and we were bantering about different names, and I think it was Mike who said, how about Front Porch?
What about that? Was it just sort of a group of people on the front porch talking and telling stories?
Well, the idea was a book had come out at that time about the importance of front porch in our culture and how we become this backyard fenced-in society where we didn't even know our neighbors. But back in the day, we would sit on our front porch and talk and watch passersby, and that the culture was trying to get back to that nationwide. And then we thought, well, in Fredericksburg, there are front porches, some incredible ones on some of the beautiful homes. So it would be kind of a, not only symbolic, but an actual thing that you could visualize.
Right. So we got to go back. The front porch has been in operation since '97. You're in your 15th year.
Right.
Let's go back to '96, '97. So you have this idea for the front porch. You had never published a paper before, right?
Right. What we had done in 1995 when my wife left her job was we put out a thing called Best of the Burg.
Yeah.
And it was a paperback, perfect bound it's called, a type of binding. And it listed what we had determined were the best things about Fredericksburg. And we had sent out secret shoppers and people to test it. We had a little army of several dozen people. And then we would talk to people as well, like, what's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? We put out Best of the Burg, and then we used to do that as part of the paper each year once we started the paper. But in that 2-year period between Best of the Burg, the book, and the beginning of Front Porch, we got to know the community more and more and try to understand what people liked, what people wanted to know about. And then that's when we decided to do the paper.
So at this point, you're deciding to start up the paper. Was it hard to get people on board? Because were you going to write every article, or?
No, we had a handful of writers, and if you were to look at the first issue, I mean,
we have it here. I think it's right behind you.
Yeah, this was really cool. This cover was taken by a pro named Dan Fitzpatrick. He was with Studio 2 with Suzanne Moe and Paul Radenbush at the time. And there's only a few writers in there and very few ads.
Yeah.
And it's very thin. It's only like 20 pages or something.
What is it, current edition pages-wise?
Now we're at 32.
Wow.
And it's a good template for us. To add pages, you have to add 4 at a time because it's a sheet like you see up here. And rather than do that, we try to keep a balance between the business side of it, which is the advertising, and the art side of it, which is the articles. So we don't want to have too many ads, but we want enough to publish.
Right.
So we have a kind of a ratio. So if we're going to add more pages, we have to increase the ad.
Okay. And we got to say that advertising is important to you. I mean, without the advertising, you can't have a paper.
It's not my favorite hat to wear. I have to do the sales. And I'm not by nature someone who likes to sell things to people.
Right.
But it's what pays the bills, what puts it out there in print.
And I think the advertisers get their money's worth, because I know myself and everybody I know reads the Front Porch, is they read it front to back.
Yeah, Sandy Staley, one of our early readers, coined the phrase cover to cover for us. And it's interesting. What we try to do for the advertisers is good ad placement in terms of what else is on that page, what articles.
So there's an art to where you put we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Rob about the whole process of making the Front Porch. We'll be right back with Artscape.
I want to thank everyone for making this day so special. Dad, you've been my inspiration. I love you.
I love you too.
And Mom, I miss you so much.
Type 2 diabetes steals the lives we cherish most. But it can be prevented. Almost 80 million Americans have prediabetes, but because prediabetes doesn't always have symptoms, 9 out of 10 people who have it don't even know it. Know your risk. More importantly, do something about it. Eat better, stay active, and lose weight. You have a lot to live for. Stop diabetes for yourself and the people you love. Learn how at checkupamerica.org or talk to your doctor.
My limit is 2, and I always make sure to eat something.
If I'm out for several hours, my limit is 3.
I know my limit is 1.
Until I'm 21, my limit is always 0.
Alcohol affects people differently, but the legal limit is .08 for everyone over 21. In order to be safe and stay well below the legal limit, it's important to know your limits and know the law. To find out more, go to responsiblelimits.com.
Want to help? Make it easy on everyone. Send cash, the most effective form of disaster relief. CIDI.org.
Welcome back to Artscape. I'm Bill Harris. I'm here with Rob Grogan from the Front Porch. Now, talk about the process. The deadlines I know are around the 20th, right?
Right.
Let's say today's the 21st.
Okay.
Where do you start? I mean, where do you start coming up with ideas, or do you have a theme, or?
Well, that's the story assignments, if you will, have already been determined, and the writers are out there. And by the 20th, we should start to see them.
Now, who determines that? Do you talk to the writers and say, well, this is what I'm thinking of?
Well, to some degree, I'll talk to different ones. Some will say, hey, here's what I'm thinking of doing for the next issue, and stuff like that. A lot come up with their own ideas because it's either their field or their hobby, and they're very well versed, and they have resources. They know people in that field. So on the 20th, things start rolling in, different articles, and the ads have to be in by then, and that's always.
I got to imagine those couple days must be a nightmare.
Yeah, they're intense, and then we finally get the content in, and during that time, I'm thinking of, well, what is there a theme? Is there something going on here that the writers are touching on that can kind of, the majority of the stories will touch on a common theme. And usually it's the most uncanny thing, that it always seems to be that there's a common theme.
Now, you had told me a good story on the break about the 9/11.
Yeah, and that's a great example of it. And with I've been thinking about it a lot this month because it's the 10th anniversary of 9/11. But September 11, 2001, which was about 4 days before deadline, or 9 days before deadline. And it happened, and for 2 days, most people really didn't do a whole lot. I mean, I wasn't thinking about this. And then I started thinking about it, and I contacted all the writers. I said, this may not be possible. It depends how far in you are to your article. But if you can somehow touch on 9/11 in your work, please do. And it turned out, as you mentioned on the break, a catharsis for most of us as writers, because they turned out incredible stuff. Chris Limbrick, who wrote our Restoration Journal column, wrote about a man and his truck and his American flag, and it was so moving. And then Megan Hicks, who wrote our Discovery column, she would always discover an interesting person or place, somehow knew of or heard of or met a person who's a therapist for first responders. And she titled her piece, Who Rescues the Rescuers? And it was so timely and so perfect and so local, because this particular therapist was right here in Fredericksburg. So they all responded in some unique way that really made me proud and made me realize that we were all moved by that event.
Right, yeah. Now, during those deadlines around the 20th, you have to obviously read every article.
Yeah.
Do you also edit them, or do you change them, or?
My first thing is to format them to our font and all that kind of stuff, how it's going to be on the page.
Does that mean you have to retype everything?
No, I just highlight and change. It's all computer. And I read them for the obvious mistakes like spelling or grammar, stuff like that. And I try not to change them. The only time I'll really change an article if it far exceeds the word count. So if I say, Bill, you want to write an article about the studio, and you have 550 words, and you turn in 890 words, well, there's going to be a lot of chopping going on.
Right.
And I try not to ruin your voice or rhythm, but it's almost inevitable at some point when you exceed the word count by too much.
But that's got to be pretty time consuming to go
it
in
is.
there.
It is.
To make it a coherent article, but also cut 300 words off.
Right, it is. It can be very
The clock is always ticking.
Exactly. And I'm a morning person, so I get up 5:30, 6 a.m. By noon, I'm pretty mush.
Right.
So my days aren't even that long, and then I try to do the household stuff or chores or errands or home maintenance stuff. and then 2 nights a week I have to go bartend, which carries over in fatigue. So the window it's even tighter. And then my wife, who's an evening person, it kind of interesting how it works, the dynamic. She brings in all the ads and she's responsible for the layout. Some of the ads she has to design, others come to us ready to go, or she has to resize them. She does all the layout, and then she says, so what stories are coming? I give her an idea so she knows what pages to reserve for what stories. And then it's funny, she works about 100 feet from me in another building on our property. And we used to try to work like this close quarters, and that doesn't work. And so she's in the cottage, as we call it, and I'll get an email or text from her, and that's how we communicate for a week.
That's
pretty
funny.
much. She'll say, this article's 2 paragraphs too long, or you can stretch that out, I need a bigger picture, and we have this ongoing dialogue for about 5 days to a week, and all of a sudden it comes together, and it's kind of neat.
Yeah, like it probably comes together and you're not even sure exactly how it's going to come together. It just comes together.
Well, the treat for me is I don't see the final product till just before it goes to press.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm the last set of eyes on it. She'll be done, she'll say, come over. She has a large computer monitor where I work on a laptop. So I'll see the layout page by page, and I'll glance over each article, and I'll look at each ad, the ones she created, to make sure we didn't say something wrong or spell something wrong. And then I get to see the cover for the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we got to say the cover, being called the front porch, almost 100% of the time is a front porch. Not always, because we got a special one here with the Beatles cover.
Yeah, we did a story called Abbey Road, and it was about those new crosswalks. And some people don't like them, they think they're too obvious, and they want a little bricks, and others like them, and others don't care. So I did this article called Abbey Road, and mostly it was explanation from the city officials on what they were doing and why. And I decided to put out an idea to bands. I said, why don't you guys use this as a great publicity shot? March your band across one of these crosswalks. It could be a great CD cover or a flyer for a gig or whatever. And I don't know that anybody did it. So my wife said to me, you know, we're starting our 15th year. Let's have some fun. Let's do something different with the covers. Do you have any ideas? And we talked to our photographer, Artscape, and to some other people, and I said, let's do the Abbey Road thing that nobody responded to.
Right.
So now this cover has gotten all kinds of response.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. And 4 friends of ours are on the cover: Joanna Krenich, Bob Whittingham, who owns Whittingham, Chris Park, and Chris Rule. And we just had a great time with that cover. And you'll notice on a lot of those crosswalks, there's a sign in the middle that says state law, you must stop for a pedestrian. Well, it kind of ruined the shot, so Chris Rule took Arch's digital photograph and went into Photoshop and eliminated that.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
So do you think this is going to be a new trend?
Well, I think we're going to do some different things. The next month, that was July, then we go to August. Current issue is a little bit different. It's a building, it's local Fredericksburg backyard, but it has a child in it.
Well, probably in 15 years you may have used every front porch in Fredericksburg. Hey, we're going to take one more break. We're going to be right back with Rob Grogan from the Front Porch. This is Artscape.
Each small beauty we experience, each discovery we enjoy, is our responsibility to share with generations to come. To share your gift, visit earthshare.org.
I'm Simon Cowell for PETA. Far be it from me to be critical, but I find it really appalling that this year thousands of dogs will die of heat stroke inside parked cars. Their people thought that little errand would only take a minute, or it wasn't that hot. But delays happen, and temperatures inside a car quickly rise in summer, even when the window's cracked. Never, ever leave your dog inside a parked car. Your dog idolizes you. In warm weather, keep him safe at home.
Welcome back to Artscape. I'm Bill Harris. I'm here with Rob Grogan from the Front Porch. There must be some major headaches involved with this that just general people don't realize. Like, what are some of the things that running a paper are just things that people just don't realize how difficult they are?
Well, I'll quote Arts DePepe, our photographer. He calls it a monthly exercise in herding cats because you have all these diverse people, whether they be advertisers or writers, and you're counting on them to give you what you need by a certain date. Meanwhile, they're going on their daily lives, their daily jobs, running their businesses, doing their art, whatever it is.
And for them, this might be a small piece of their life. For you, it is your life.
It is, exactly, and that's the contrast that causes the stress. You don't want to put too much of a burden on them or to expect too much, because it's a part of their life. So, and you want to balance that with, I really need this versus, be demanding.
So have anybody ever just not come through for you? Like they had a deadline, no article?
Rarely, few and far between.
Yeah.
We have very good community, responsible, mature people that when they say they're going to do something, they do it.
Right. Yeah. Now, the Front Porch is such a part of our community, but you're looking for the community to also, for articles or for help or?
Sure, we can't reach everywhere. We need people to come to us and say, hey, I have a story idea. I'd like your writer's guidelines because I'd like to write, or there's a new business in town, why don't you go check it out? And so we have kind of like referrals in that way.
Right.
Or just ideas, like people say, what events are coming up? Did you know that this is happening every month at such and such a place?
So you want that. I mean,
absolutely.
The calendar is such an important part. I think it's an important part for people to live in Fredericksburg, but you want people to call you to let you know when things are going on.
Absolutely. And they can do it in many ways. They can call me at 540-220-1922, and all that information will be in every issue on page 4 of the masthead. Then we have a website, frontporchfredericksburg.com, and Facebook. Like us on Facebook, Front Porch Fredericksburg Magazine on Facebook, and then you get updates of what's going on. Maybe there's a gig that didn't make it into the calendar because it came too late. I'll post that certain show at the Otter House or whatever. Right.
So now you're 15 years in. How do you see it changing? Now, we talked about this in the break. It's changed already quite a bit. Early on, you used to have to go into the printer. You would actually have to go down there and post it, but now...
Yeah, we used to paste it up at the printer, and it extended the process. Took a lot longer. Now we simply finish it up, put it into what's printer's flats, upload it to an FTP site, they download it, put it on film and run it. So it's all electronic, totally.
Right. So it must be quite it must be a funny feeling first getting that first copy to see it in your hands.
You always hold your breath and cross your fingers. Will the color be right? Will there be smut? Things you worry about. But it works out better. It gives us more time to produce. And we've added color in the last, I think 2005 was our first color year. We have some new writers. That's pretty cool to have younger people involved. We have readers, literally, I've observed from University of Mary Washington all the way up to retired senior citizen. We have a lot in the 30 and 40-year-old demographic, the people who are up and coming in terms of their careers. They have money to spend, they go to the nice restaurants, they visit the nice shops, and they are our market, which is good for the advertiser and for us.
You told me something pretty interesting. You like to watch people in maybe Hyperion reading the Front Porch.
And Hyperion probably has the same demo as we do, the age range and all walks of life and range, and I'll sit there and watch people pick it up and read it. I watch how they read it. Do they start at the beginning or do they go to their favorite page, writer? And how long, I'm very observant of page time. How long does a person stay on a page? Because that's good for the advertiser to know. Like, oh, they're seeing your ad because they're reading an article that might be related to what you do. And that's important. So it's fun. Hyperion is neat because we go through more copies there than any individual place. We might go through 800 to 1,000 copies just at Hyperion.
Now back in '97, when you first started printing, how many copies do you print? How many do you print now?
12,000 now, 5,000 then.
So wow.
Yeah, and we could go more, and we could go more pages, and we could hire more people to do advertising. But right now, our life is pretty balanced, and we like it that way. You know,
it's kind of have that cool, easy feeling like Fredericksburg. You know, like the people that live in Fredericksburg. You know, we don't want to make it too big.
Yeah.
Right. So. Where do you see it going? I mean, do you see changes coming in the future? Or?
Yeah, we want to do some more artistic things with it, some different kind of covers. Want to include more people.
You're always asking for people to also, you know, not just content, but to maybe come up with covers. Because I know years ago I had done a cover for you, so
that's right.
You're very open to that. You definitely.
Oh yeah. We're not like parochial about it.
Right.
And for your viewers to know, you were one of our Best of the Berg people. You were the best painter for several years in our series of Best of the Bergs.
Well, you know, I know in the arts community, it's always been, we've always felt great support from the front porch, and it's nice that it's been so important to you. The arts have been important to you. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the arts are so important in Fredericksburg?
Well, for two reasons. They give us a cultural identity that is really worth being part of. And two, there's an art economy that is good for the town in general. But primarily, we have so many talented artists in Fredericksburg of all medium, whether they be painters or writers or what have you, and they make the town what it is. They're also interesting characters and personalities. They bring a lot of energy and color to the community. And it's not a boring town, and mostly that's because of our arts community.
Yeah, I always find, you know, talking with people that are visiting or they maybe just moved here, that they're normally impressed. Normally impressed with the town and what it has to offer. Like, it's kind of like a big city, but a little version of it.
Exactly.
Do you get a lot of people from out of the area who read the paper and send you emails?
We do. We get a lot of website readers, which is really cool. People that read our paper online in the PDF, which is the exact layout as you'll see.
Now, are they ex-Fredericksburg residents, or?
Some are people Googling Fredericksburg because they heard there are battlefields here.
Right.
Or some are expatriates, and some are people we know that live in other states.
Right. I could see why. You know, once you're used to seeing the front porch every month, you're almost addicted to it.
Oh, thank you. That's a good addiction, a healthy addiction.
So, do you think that 20 years from now we'll have the front porch?
Well, 20 years from now I'll be 80, so I don't know that I'll be...
Maybe your daughter will take it up.
We've talked about that. I think she's going in a different direction, but we want to continue to do it as long as we enjoy it and as long as we feel we are part of the pulse of the community.
Which I think you are. I think it's necessary to Fredericksburg. I think it sort of is the pulse of Fredericksburg.
Thank you very much.
One last thing, where can people find the paper, and how can they get in contact with you?
Pretty much all the coffee shops, the libraries, a lot of the major stores.
And outside of Fredericksburg as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Spotsylvania, all the libraries in Spotsylvania, the Starbucks in the mall, the town center, and the one on Plank Road, lots of Central Park stuff. All the way out to Spotsylvania Courthouse.
And what's the website?
frontporchfredericksburg.com.
Front Porch.
And then we have the Facebook page, and the phone number again is 540-220-1922.
And we'll bring that up after the broadcast. So anyway, thanhanks for being here today.
Thank you, Bill. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. Until next time, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, I can be reached at billharrisart@comcast.net. Until next time, this has been Artscape.
Hello? I've been on the street for a while. I saw your poster outside. I don't know what to do.
National Runaway Switchboard, how can I help? Call 1-800-RUNAWAY to make the connection.
Hey, what's up? I'm Jack Black. You want to play? I didn't pick up air guitar until I was 23, and now I'm a rock god. Seriously, if you want to play music, Don't let anything stand in your way. Learn how to get started at wannaplaymusic.com.